Hey guys, welcome back to Kitchen Court Cases, where we watch court in my kitchen. This is part two of this lengthy custody battle in Michigan. We are going to be kicking it off with Dad's uh, witnesses now. I just love how funny the judge has been so far. He's been throwing out Oscar jokes, just hilarious stuff, especially considering it's a really serious situation. Anyways, let's take a look at the next part.
Nope, she did not connect. She connected. Mrs. Smith, can you hear us? You're going to have to unmute so we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. The
Okay.
attorney, before we go on the record, the attorney just had a question for you about timing because we realize you have an appointment, and she was wondering if you wanted to do this now or you wanted to do this after your appointment.
Probably because of the duration of the testimony, it might be best if I do it after the appointment.
Okay, no problem. We've got another witness in the waiting room, and what we'll do is we'll call you when you come back in. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so
No
much.
problem. We'll move on, and then we can interrupt. I don't know how many witnesses you have, Miss Boss, but we'll work with Mrs. Smith at that point in time, and I'm assuming you're going to call the other person in the waiting room.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's get your case in and bring in the other person in the waiting room. Mr. Fastberg, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Welcome. Good afternoon, sir. You've been called as a witness in this case. So, Douglas Fastberg, if you please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in giving testimony?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if you wouldn't mind, please get rid of the gum. That way we have clean testimony. Sorry about that. Just
Right.
it does help. Yeah.
All right.
It doesn't go on the record that well, so
Okay.
trying to keep it clean. All righty, Miss Boss, you may question your witness now that he is sworn in, sir, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hello, Mr. Fastberg. How are you today?
Pretty good, you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for being here, and on your birthday too, I understand.
Hey, not a problem at all.
Happy birthday. This is now your birthday present. That way you can
Yeah.
now say that you've been in court. Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. Mr. Fastberg, how long have you known the parties?
I have known Brian for, to be honest with you, since we were in diapers. So it's been every bit of 40 years. Well, him, since he was in diapers. So yeah, it's a long time.
Okay. And how about Miss Matchett?
I've known what, when they first got together, so 7 years or 7,
Okay.
8 years.
So how often were you around during the relationship between the parties?
So I was around when they had their apartment at York Creek, and I was around then, and then also at their duplex apartment on Pat Street. So yeah, so I was around definitely quite a bit.
Okay. How would you describe their relationship from what you saw?
Their relationship wasn't good at all. For instance, Brian worked for a company called Speedy Oil, and when Brian worked at that company, I actually lived around the corner. I owned a house over on Courtney Street, so it was like a 2-minute walk, literally. And I used to go over there and hang out with Brian. Just go over there to conversate with him here and there. And Brittany, when they were going through their breakups and stuff like that, she would come right in the shop, screaming, yelling at him, and like making a big old scene on numerous occasions. And like to the point where Brian like almost lost his job a few times because of that. And then when they lived at York Creek Apartments, do you want me to go into that too?
Yes, please.
Okay, so when they lived at York Creek Creek Apartments. I can remember a time when I was over there, and she was gonna cook up like, I don't know, 5 pounds of burger or something. And Brian was like, "Why are you cooking up 5 pounds of burger? There's only, a couple people here for dinner." And, he's like, "Please don't cook 5 pounds of burger." And she flew off the handle, grabbed the burger, threw some burger at him, smacked at him, got a hold of his glasses, broke his glasses. And then that was one incident that I witnessed in person. And me and my wife were there, and we're like, I think it's time to go. So, we left because she was just screaming and cursing and yelling. And then Brian ended up leaving shortly after that too, because when we were leaving the parking lot, Brian was leaving. And then another incident on Pat Street. Do you want to hear that one too, or?
Sure.
Okay, so when they lived on Pat Street, I witnessed an argument over there. Not sure what it was over. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But I remember Brittany breaking the big flat screen TV that was on the wall. She broke that, screaming, yelling, and I don't know. It was just a really bad relationship.
Okay. So you did personally witness violence against Mr. Brownell?
Yes, few times, absolutely. Swearing at him, like I said, she threw burger at him, broke his glasses. Like, I witnessed that for sure.
Did you ever witness Mr. Brownell being violent against her?
No. As far as like hitting her or going after her, no. He would just be like, shut your mouth, or just stop, yelling at her, of course, but just trying to get her to calm down and just stop, But she just keep going and going and going and going.
Are you, do you know Mr. Brownell's current wife then, Shanna?
Oh yeah, she's a really good woman.
Have you ever witnessed Mr. Brownell being violent towards Shanna?
Absolutely not. Nope. Ever since they've gotten together, can I go like a little bit into Brian changing his life since he's been with her?
Okay.
Is that okay?
We'll get to that. So you're not aware of any domestic violence incidents between Mr. Brownell and Shanna?
Absolutely not. Nope.
Okay. Do you know a Sharon Dykstra?
No.
So, to your knowledge, Brian never lived with Sharon and Brittany at the same time?
No, the only two places that they lived at was at York Creek Apartments and on Pat Street, and nobody lived with them at that time.
Okay, thank you. In your opinion, is Brittany a truthful person?
Absolutely not.
And why do you think so?
Because she likes to make up stories and tell lies, just like that whole door incident. That's a bunch of crap. That door was already broken, and that door was a total mess. And the only reason why Brian ended up paying that because he didn't want to risk going to trial and spending all kinds of more money and trying to fight the case, which in all reality, he probably could have beat that case, but it would have cost him way more money than the $2,000. So why don't you just pay the $2,000 and just be done with it?
All right. So have you been to any of the plaintiff's residences then?
I was at the one in Cedar Springs when they lived at that trailer park out there.
Do you ever see anything there that you found concerning?
Yeah, I went over there actually a couple times to pick up Laketon with Brian, and I only seen like into the house from like when the door was open, and it was filthy, like disgusting. I've actually even reported to CPS on multiple occasions and tried to make reports, but they don't do nothing.
Okay. How would you describe the relationship between Mr. Brownell and his son?
So Brian is like, when he has his son, he's very active in his son's life. They go fishing. He takes them to, the fairs and carnivals and, the birthday parties. And he's always doing a lot of stuff with his son. He actually, I have 3 sons of my own, and my 2 oldest boys are 6 and 7, and we actually get our kids together quite often, because they're so close in age, and they play, and summertime we go to parks and, fishing, boating. But yeah, Brian is really, really active in his son's life. And, especially when it comes to like his education and stuff like that, Brian is, like really there, like reading books to him and stuff like that. And he's concerned about the school that he's in too right now, because it's not a really good school.
Okay.
And
So you'd say that he has a close bond with his son then?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And Layton with him as well?
Yes. Oh yeah. He's a daddy's boy.
Has Layton ever shown any fear towards his father?
Absolutely not. No.
Does Mr. Brownell provide for his son's basic necessities, food, clothing, medical care?
Yes, every time Brian has Layton, he's always has really nice clothes on, nice shoes, and oh yeah. When we go up there, we have big cookouts and stuff, and his son eats, and yeah.
Food in the fridge when you go over there?
Oh yeah, they have a really nice house, and yeah.
So you've been to his residence then, I take it?
Oh yeah, many times.
And how long has he lived there?
I think they've been in Big Rapids for 4 years now, I think.
Okay. Can you describe its condition?
It's a really nice house. When they first got it, it needed a little bit of updating as far as, because it was a little outdated. But since they've owned it, Brian has pretty much remodeled that whole thing inside. Like new flooring, new drywall, carpet, paint. It's a really nice house. It's actually a really big house too.
Say it's clean.
Oh yeah, really clean.
Does Layton have his own room there?
Yes, he has his own room, and he has like more toys than my 3 boys put together.
So how is Layton's overall demeanor when he's with his father for a significant amount of time?
So he's a happy, outgoing kid. He plays and rips and runs, just like any normal kid. Yeah.
All right. Have you ever seen anything that concerns you about Layton when he's been with Brittany for a significant amount of time?
So I actually did want to touch on this. I have seen him come back from her house multiple times, and it seems like it steps back as far as his speaking goes, because he has a problem with talking. And when he's with Brian and Shanna for a period of time, he's starting to speak really well. He's outgoing and stuff like that. But it seems like when he goes to her house, it's like total opposite when they get him back. It's like they're trying to work with him again to get him to talk, and it's just really, really odd. And then I have also noticed where he's come back with, like, I don't know if she's doing this on purpose, sending him back with bummy clothes and like bummy shoes and stuff. But Brian, he sends him over there with nice stuff, and it seems like they're keeping the nice shoes and clothes at her house, and then she sends him back with like bummy stuff. I've noticed that a few times too.
Okay. So you did touch on this a little bit, but to your knowledge, Mr. Brownell is involved in Layton's schooling?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, he is.
And how do you know?
Because I've actually went with Brian and Shanna to pick up Layton a few different times from school.
Okay.
So, and then, like I said earlier, he's always, like reading books with him and helping him with his schoolwork. He actually had my wife print off a bunch of worksheets too. And like worksheets for like adding and writing sentences and, stuff like that, which obviously tells me he's active in his son's education when he reached out to me and said, hey, can you have your wife, print off some worksheets? And so, yeah.
Good. So where do you believe that Layton has the most stability between homes?
It's really obvious. Brian, he's married. He's a business owner. They own their own home. He should be with his dad. majority of the time, yes. I'm not saying, just take them from the mother altogether, but I think at the end of the day, he should be with his dad, because I've witnessed many times when Brian goes to drop him off, like, he'll be like, all right, we got to bring you home, buddy. And, Lake can be like, I don't want to go home, and he start crying and throwing a big fit because, he wants to be with his dad, and all around, like, if you and the judge and people can go into Brittany's house and walk into Brian's house, and I wish you could, there would be no question about it where he should be, with his dad.
So when these for lack of a better word, fits happen before he has to take Laketon back to his mom's, I mean, do you see him encouraging that sort of behavior, or is he, saying you have to go back to your mom?
Yeah, and that's what Brian does, and he breaks down, and he'll be crying and saying, I don't want to go back there, Dad. I don't want to go back there. And Brian's like, I know, buddy, but you have to go back to your mom's, And yeah, I mean, I've seen that a few different times.
Okay. So how long has Mr. Brownell been a stable presence in Laketon's life?
His whole life.
So do you believe that he's morally fit to be a parent?
Absolutely.
Even with his criminal history?
The criminal history is his past. What is he doing with his life now?
So you wanted to touch on that, how he's turned things around.
Because I've actually been down this road before, as far as, custody battles and stuff like that. And, it's like everybody wants to bring up the person's past. He did this in the past, he did that, he has a criminal record. It's like, at the end of the day, what is this person doing with his life now? That's what we need to focus on. He's sober, he's married, he's a business owner, he owns his own home, he takes care of his son. He's a great guy. Yeah, he has a past, but we all have pasts, and it's not about the past. It's about what he's doing with his life now. And he's doing amazing with his life. He's got a good woman. She's supportive. She's there for him. Like I said, they own a business, their own home. I mean, there's not much more to it. Past is the past. It's a past for a reason.
Okay, thank you. And to your knowledge, has Mr. Brownell ever been diagnosed with any mental health disorders?
Absolutely not.
And to your knowledge, how is his physical health?
Oh, he's pretty physical fit. He remodels homes and demos homes and remodels, and he does a lot of construction work. So he's pretty physical.
So no health problems that would interfere with him being able to take care of his kid?
No.
All right. No further questions.
Mr. Engman, you may cross-examine. You'd have to unmute, though. I don't read lips all that well. Although the woman that cussed me out during motions a few weeks ago, I was reading her lips very, very well.
Oh, man.
Your Honor, I'm sorry about that, but they have.
That's okay. I know you said they were got construction going on above you, so thank you for keeping us in the quiet. So, but you may cross-examine this witness.
All right, sir. Have you seen my client since the party separated in November of 2015?
No.
What's that?
Have you seen my client since what year?
We broke up January 2017.
Have you seen my client since they broke up in 2017?
The only time I have seen her is when we picked up Laketon from the residence in Cedar Springs, but I didn't talk to her or nothing like that.
Okay, so you haven't been in her residence at this time, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, but I've seen inside the house when the door was open.
Oh, you've seen inside the house when the door was open?
Yeah, when the front door was open.
Huh? One that your friend busted in with his feet?
No, we're talking about the house in Cedar Springs. Nobody busted that door in.
Not the one that they're currently living in.
Yeah, nobody busted that door in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So your client, did he enter a plea? Were you with him when he entered a plea in this matter?
But hold on, isn't this case regarding?
Mr. Fastberg, unfortunately, you can't. It's not you who gets to ask questions.
Yeah, but it's okay.
I understand, but that is part of it. There's issues of domestic violence. That is domestic violence, whether he did or did not cut the door in. So yeah, the real question is, were you a witness to the event? I think, to cut to the chase for Mr. Engman, but he'll get there eventually.
Okay.
If you weren't there, it's not going to help to say, in your opinion, he didn't do it.
Okay, nope, I wasn't there.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Engman, you may proceed.
Were you in court when he entered a plea in this matter? After busting in the door?
No.
Okay. And why would your friend give her $2,000 to repair a door?
Because he didn't want to take the case to trial and cost more money. It would have been a lot more money than the $2,000. So instead, he took a plea deal and said, you know what, I'll just pay the $2,000 instead of paying attorney fees. Another $4,000, that'd have been double. So yeah.
Okay. And to your knowledge, does he have a driver's license at this point?
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, okay. Do you do all the driving?
His wife does.
Oh, his wife does. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you don't know what the inside of my client's house looks like at this time. Is that correct?
Not that house, no.
Okay. And in terms of everything, you don't know even if Brian has a driver's license at this point?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
Nope.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay, any further examination, Ms. Boss?
Nothing further.
All right, sir. You are excused as a witness in this matter.
Thank you, sir.
You have a great afternoon. Thank you for being here.
You too. Thanks.
All righty. Okay.
Thank you.
We do not have Miss. I don't think we have Miss White. Was that it? Well, I can't remember her name now.
It's Smith and
Smith.
Is there a Cheryl Cook?
Do we have a
There's
Cheryl
a
Cook for us?
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
We have Cheryl Cook. So if you would like to call Miss Cook.
I would.
Those three little bouncing dots. How long has she been in the waiting room, Miss LeVay?
Miss Cook?
Yes.
Maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. I was thinking if she's been here for a couple hours, it might not have. You might want to. Can you give her text her, Miss Boss, and see if you can get her. Oh no, never mind. She connected. Talk about timing, Miss Cook. Welcome.
Sorry, I was on a phone call and I was trying to get off.
That's okay. Hey, better that better than sitting here at the courthouse waiting for everything to happen. All right, Miss Cook, if you wouldn't mind lowering the camera a little. Perfect. That's good enough. Now, that way we can see your smiling face. Okay. Miss Cook, you've been called as a witness in this matter, so please raise your right hand, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in giving testimony?
Yes, I do.
All righty, Miss Boss, you may question your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hello, Miss Cook. How are you?
Good.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here today. How do you know the parties, Mr. Brownell and Miss Matchett?
He's my son-in-law.
Okay, so you don't actually know Brittany Matchett.
Who?
I think that answered the question.
Oh my goodness, I'm confused. Okay, no, I
Right.
don't.
How long have you known Mr. Brownell?
I've known him probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay. And so that would make Shanna Brownell your daughter, correct?
Yes.
Okay. There's been accusations of domestic violence between Mr. Brownell and Mrs. Brownell, your daughter. Are you aware of any domestic violence incidents between the two?
No.
Do you believe she would have told you if there were such incidents?
Yes.
Okay. And do you believe that Shanna would have stayed with Mr. Brownell if there were such incidents?
No.
Okay. And why do you believe that?
Because of her first marriage, she took a lot of crap off of her ex-husband, and I don't think that she would ever do it again. She's too smart.
All right. How long have you known Layton?
Since he was a baby.
Okay. And how would you describe Mr. Brownell as a father?
Oh, he's very loving.
Okay. So you'd say he has a bond with his son?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, how so? Like what types of activities do they do together?
Oh, they spend a lot of time out in the yard together, playing in the yard and camping down by the lake and fishing, and I can't even think of all of it, but I know he spends a lot of time with him.
Okay. So you believe that there's emotional ties between the two?
Definitely.
Okay. And do you believe that that Layton looks to Mr. Brownell for affection, love, and guidance?
Yes.
How about discipline?
I think, when he needs it.
Has he ever disciplined Layton in front of you?
Not really.
Okay. Does Mr. Brownell provide Layton with the basic necessities like food, clothing, medical care?
Yes.
Okay. How long has Mr. Brownell lived in his current address?
I think it's been 4 or 5 years. I don't recall exactly.
Okay, so quite a while then.
Yeah.
And how long has Shanna lived with him then?
I think it's been 4 years.
Okay, and I assume you've been there to their residence.
Yes, of course.
How would you describe it?
I don't know. Like any other family, they work well together.
Sorry, I mean the house itself.
The house itself?
Yes.
The house is nice.
Clean, food in the fridge.
Yes.
Okay. Layton has his own room.
He has his own room, and it's quite messy sometimes, but, kids will be kids.
Okay. Who all lives or stays there with them in that house?
No one that I'm aware of.
Okay. So
think
nobody outside of the three of them?
No, they're the only ones that live there.
Okay. And would you describe the environment there at their house as stable?
Yes.
And so, Shanna, how long has she been in Layton's life? I assume as long as you have?
Since he was a baby.
Okay. And how would you describe his relationship with her?
He loves Shanna, and Shanna loves him.
Okay.
They're like, I can't even explain it. I mean, he calls her mom. He loves her.
I see.
He's really good with him.
Good. Do you believe that, Shanna has a couple of children herself, correct?
Yes.
Does Layton have a bond with them as well?
I am not real sure about her son, but Mackenzie and him are quite close, I believe.
Okay.
Her daughter.
Okay. And how old is her daughter?
I think she's 19 now.
Okay, so like a big.
Forgive me, I cannot keep track of my grandkids' birthdays anymore.
That's okay.
I'm getting old.
So do you believe Mr. Brownell is morally fit to be a parent?
Yes.
Are you aware of his criminal history?
Yes, I am.
And yet you still say he's morally fit.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because he's just a wonderful dad. He's sweet. He's kind. He's always been very respectful to me. I've never seen him be disrespectful to anyone.
To your knowledge, how is his mental and physical health?
Brian's?
Yeah.
Good, I guess. He's a hard worker.
And would you say, to your knowledge, that he is involved in Laketon's schooling?
Yes, definitely.
Are you aware of how Laketon's doing in school at the moment?
I think he's doing pretty good right now.
Okay. So you're not like terribly familiar with his grades or anything like that?
No.
In terms of his behavior, how is Laketon when he's with his father at his father's house?
I don't know. They're really close. I know that. They're constantly together.
You describe him as well behaved, or?
I think he's really well behaved.
I mean, has he ever confided anything in you that he's scared of his father or doesn't want to be around him or anything like that?
No, never.
Have you ever witnessed Mr. Brownell make a disparaging remark about Brittany to or in front of Laketon?
Would you repeat that?
Yes. Have you ever witnessed Brian make a disparaging remark about Brittany, the plaintiff, to or in front of Laketon? Have you ever heard him talk bad about Laketon's mom?
No.
Okay.
I have not.
I don't think we have anything further.
All right. Hold on, Ms. Cook. Mr. Eggman now gets to cross-examine. So, all right. Okay. The fun continues. Mr. Eggman, please unmute. You may cross-examine this witness.
Your Honor, I have no questions of this witness.
In that case, this witness may be excused. Thank you for your presence, ma'am. You have a good afternoon. All righty. Anybody else in the waiting room? Miss LeVay?
I do have Miss Smith.
Wonderful. In that case, I guess if you'd like to bring in Miss Smith, is that acceptable, Miss Boss?
Yeah.
All right.
She has been chatting with me. Do you just want a quick chat with her to see if this is a good time? I don't want to interrupt her appointment.
Oh, okay. She's in the middle of the appointment.
No, I don't know. That's what I wanted to check before.
Okay, check. Okay, yeah. That way you can, we don't want to bring her in the middle of, hi, doctor, let me. Like I said, one of the other referees has been there, done that. No, thank you. I only brought somebody in making out with their boyfriend, so while they were waiting in the waiting room. Never leave a 22-year-old in her bedroom alone for 2.5 hours waiting to be a witness in a case. Well, I'm not going to blame her. She's 22 and she was left alone in her room for 2.5 hours, which is why I started telling people don't have people wait in the waiting room the entire time. We'll wait for a few minutes and call them.
Yeah.
Okay,
Luckily,
she's available, so I'll bring her in.
Perfect. Yeah, luckily I learned that lesson like 3 months into COVID. So I learned that lesson early. All right, Mrs. Smith, I'm very jealous that you got in and out of the doctor that fast. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that's maybe some type of a record. In any event, now you're with these doctors.
Yes.
I mean, they're JDs, not MDs, but they're just doctors. That's what JD stands for.
Yes.
So
They trump teachers.
not by much. In any event, somebody had to teach them. In
True.
any event, Miss Smith, you've been
Yes.
called as a witness in this matter, so please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in giving testimony, ma'am?
Yes, I do.
Miss Boss, you may question your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hello, Mrs. Smith. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I know you're probably very busy, but we appreciate your appearance today. How do you know the parties?
Can we have her state? I'm sorry. Can we have her state and spell her name, because we only have her as Mrs. Smith? And no offense, that does sound like a cover. So please state and spell your full name for the record, ma'am.
Okay, Karen, Karen, Ann, and then Smith, Smith.
Thank you, ma'am. Please proceed, Miss Boss. Sorry for the interruption.
All right. So Mrs. Smith, how do you know the parties?
I was Laketon's Young Fives teacher last year for the 2021-22 school year.
Okay. And during that school year, were you in contact with either of the parties?
Yes.
Okay. Which one? Both or?
I had limited contact from Laketon's mom, and I had consistent, frequent weekly contact with Laketon's dad.
Okay. So weekly contact between him and the dad. Did you notice any issues during the school year between the parties?
Only when it was made known to us from the mom that, in her opinion, something was happening. I didn't have any concern. Dad didn't bring concerns to me about any issues between the two of them going on.
Okay. Were there any issues that were brought up by one of the parties that you were a witness to, or?
I know early on, I met both parents on August 19th, 2021. I remember the date because it was our open house. They both came and attended, and Mr. Brown L. expressed that he wanted to be informed of any communication or anything that was happening in the classroom, and he provided his email. Then the first time that there was any communication from mom was in October for a conference, parent-teacher conference. That was also Laketon's individualized education plan meeting. I logged into Zoom for the first 10 minutes to give the progress report information. And then it was my understanding when I logged off that the itinerant staff of the school then did an IEP meeting with the mom. After that happened, I had contacted the itinerant staff and I said, when is the meeting with Laketon's dad? And they said, well, what do you mean? And I said, Dad made it very clear in August that he has educational rights, and he also deserves to be at that meeting. In my experience, there's only been 2 other situations where it's been animosity, where parents didn't communicate about the school setting and about those meetings. And unfortunately, the assumption, for lack of a better word, is that parents will communicate those to each other. That was not communicated to my understanding with Mr. Brownell. So then I told the staff that they needed to contact Dad because he had educational rights, is what he had told me, and had it on file in the office. So then they contacted him, and they did a, I believe it was a phone call conference with him to get him up to speed on what happened at that meeting. That was the catalyst that set off the communication that Mr. Brownell requested from me. At that point, he contacted me the following week, first week in November, and he requested.
Mr. Engman, you might have to mute if you're going to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Please continue, Ms. Smith. That's okay.
I teach 5-year-olds. I'm used to being interrupted. So Mr. Brownell was very upset. Rightly so. He was calm, understanding once he understood what happened. But he was like, "Why wasn't I told?" And I said, this has happened before. Parents aren't telling each other what happens. Then I've had the experience of sometimes being a first or second year for the kids' teacher. I have to educate the school on this situation because normally the parents communicate and share that information with the other parent. So he then said, could I please have a weekly folder? We do a home to school folder. And could I have duplicates of every piece of information that you send any other parent? And I was like, absolutely, that's easy to do. So then he also at times would either call or email weekly to find out progress, to reassure me, or I would call to make sure that it was in like his time to come and pick Laketon up, because there was a time that he came to the school to pick him up, and the principal was like confused, and that was again in early November, and the principal was confused because she said, well, we sent him home on the bus, and he was like, no, I come and pick him up here. And it had turned out that he had been taken out of school early that day by mom. And so when he got there, then Laketon wasn't there. So that became another enlightenment to us of the situation of every Friday he was going to be there. So like I said, then I would usually check in every Friday morning, give him a quick call. You know, even when we had a couple of snowstorms last winter, I thought, oh my gosh, no way is he gonna come down here and make it. And he consistently showed up to pick him up every Friday, even during a snowstorm. Drove the hour and a half or so to get him. If I didn't have the Friday folder ready, he would wait. It was, it was something that there were some things that went home just at the last minute on Fridays. And then if he got there and it was close to getting every kid ready to go home, then I would go, oh gosh, hold on. And he was like, no, I don't need them early. And the office finally got used to that, and they're like, "Oh, we thought, you're here at 3:30 to get him, but we get out at 3:50. You want him early?" And he's like, "No, nope, no worries." So then I would pack the folder. Sometimes I would walk him down with the rest of the kids to Mr. Brownell. He'd check in with me, ask how he was doing. At one point during the winter break, they had asked for extra work to do with him during the winter break. And I had said that I provide that for all of the parents so that I'd be more than happy to put it in that Friday folder. We continued throughout the school year like I said, on a very consistent basis. Didn't miss a week. With that folder, with phone calls, occasionally emails. In the spring, parent-teacher conferences, he did those. He asked me when kindergarten information night was for the school that he's currently at, because he intended on going to that. And then wanted to know when the open house, if I knew when that was, so that he could try to go to that at the next school. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. I mean, he showed an interest from the open house, and it was carried on consistently through the very end of the school year, and asked for work for the summer, which I provided anyway, but he wanted to make sure he got that information.
Okay, thank you so much. So you know him as a very involved parent then with the school.
Yeah, he was, I would say among the 26 or 27 kids I had last year, there were maybe 3 to 5 at most that were even close to as involved as he was in wanting to know how he was doing, what he was doing, what he could do to help, and had contact, to my knowledge, with the speech teacher and social worker that also worked with Laketon. And he often had just casual contact with the office people and the principal. And if there was a concern that happened and it was on a Friday, then the principal would call Mr. Brownell, because she knew that it was his day and that he would respond and come get him or do whatever he needed to do. So, yes, he was, like I said, one of the top out of 5 probably, and 3 at the most. He was probably the most consistent.
Okay, thank you. So when he approached you in August at the open house to ask for all these means of communication, did it appear that he anticipated issues with communication between himself and with Laketon's mom?
I didn't think that there was going to be issues. Again, I don't like the word assumption, but this is only the 3rd case in 29 years of teaching that I've had this situation, and I can name the other 2 cases where parents haven't shared information. He said he wanted to give his email, and then his girlfriend also said, "Can you put my information down?" And until that parent-teacher conference happened and IEP happened and he wasn't notified, I was like, what? And like I said, I contacted the other people, and then I told them, I said, you better call that dad, because I said, this is on you guys now, because apparently mom isn't communicating any information. He didn't have knowledge of the IEP. He didn't have knowledge of conferences. You know, that's when I started to say, you know, quite honestly, I was like, we've got to do this because it's not getting done by the other parent.
Okay. So you mentioned before that that Layton had been picked up early on a Friday when
Yeah.
showed up. How many times did that happen, to your knowledge?
I would say a few. It happened more frequently until the principal had an interaction with Brittany, and again, to be honest, was kind of caught on to what was going on. And then, you know, there wasn't anything we could do to say no, because of the situation and in our understanding. But there were a few times, and that one I remember specifically, that first one, because we felt terrible afterwards because we had no idea. And then we had heard later that when he went there was some concern of why he couldn't pick Laketon up.
Okay. And do you know you may not know, but do you know in the office if he was listed as Layton's father on their paperwork?
No. In fact, I still have that paperwork. Sorry, someone's at my door here, like the meter person or somebody. No. On that original registration form that Brittany did, he was not listed on there, and I had that paper at open house, and I showed it to him, and that is where and when he and his girlfriend, that is when they wrote it down. And then he had to go to the office and put all that information down. Yeah, so that was not originally put on there. He had to add that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else that you remember from that school year that you think would be noteworthy?
I can tell you that I had contact with Brittany at open house, the fall conference, the spring conference. The spring conference was very upsetting. It was over the phone. And when she started to say negative things about Mr. Brownell, I tried to say that we were trying to keep the conference to information about Laketon. My job is not to get in between parents, side with parents. My job is to take care of that child, and do what's best for the child. And I ended up having to kind of back down a little. The speech therapist, who was brand new, just was mortified that the volume that we were being talked to with, and there was some swearing involved. And she was new, and I wanted to handle it, and she kind of like waved me off, and I just was like, okay. And I said one more time, I said, that's not what we're here to talk about. And then I let her finish. I did send Brittany an email apologizing that if I upset her, but that was not my purpose, was to hear anything about Mr. Brownell, that I just wanted to talk about Laketon and Laketon's progress, which he made a lot of progress in the classroom last year. And there was one other day too, that it was cold outside, and I don't remember if it was a Friday, but I ended up I'm trying to think if I contacted both of them. But anyway, one day Laketon showed up in shorts, and it was a really cold day, and I was kind of concerned because it wasn't appropriate clothing for school. And then Brittany also did. She did come for the field day towards the end of the year. So 4 times during the year is what the contact entailed with Miss Matchett.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I don't think I have any further questions.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Engman, you may cross-examine this witness.
And ma'am, are you aware that sometimes parents, children have conflicts between themselves that cause them to not communicate together?
I'm sorry, you kind of went up a little bit.
I'm sorry. Are you aware that sometimes parents have communication problems that are caused between the two of them that stop them from communicating with each other?
Yes.
Would it surprise you if you found out that Brian had 2 domestic assault convictions against his wife?
That doesn't.
Ex-girlfriend, I mean.
Okay.
That he has been convicted of domestic assault against my client?
I don't think that has anything to do with me teaching a child. Okay. So I'm not sure what you're asking me that has to do with Laketon.
What I'm asking you is sometimes parents do not communicate with each other.
Right. I've been teaching 29 years. I know that. Okay.
Well, if you know what a PPO is?
Yes, I filed them before against parents.
Were you aware that my client had a PPO where she wasn't to talk to him after Brian had kicked in her door?
No, Mom never told us any of that at school.
Okay.
Not me. Did not tell me, no.
At any rate, at that time, Brian is now trying to spend time to find out more about his child. Is that correct?
What I understand was he started to come to the school in August of 2021, and he, at that time, requested information, and that what you're talking about didn't happen until November. And I do remember hearing that story through the principal, but that was never told to me by the parents until much after it happened.
All right. And in terms of the child here involved, LP, right? LB, excuse me. That child has got special help for his IEP problems, right? With his disability.
For his speech only, yeah. Yes. There wasn't any other determination of any other special education.
And apparently it helped, right?
His speech therapy helped, yes.
And that is something that my client was trying to press the school to do. Is that correct?
No, that was in place already before he came into my classroom. And it was being done on a regular basis. It had nothing to do with what anybody was trying to do.
It could be that my client had expressed her wish that more could have been done before you got involved. Is that correct? In terms of her child's speech?
I don't know what she thought before I had him because I wasn't involved then.
I think. And you saw Brian drive to the school to pick up his son on Fridays. Is that correct?
I saw him at the school. I didn't see him drive to the school.
Okay, all right. Anybody else with him?
I don't. There is maybe a couple times that at the time that his girlfriend was there, but most times it was him coming into the building.
Okay.
I think I saw his girlfriend maybe twice.
Okay.
But otherwise, it was usually Dad waiting inside the office, and I don't walk out and look to see
Okay.
who they leave with.
All right. No further questions.
All right, any further examination?
Nothing
Ms.
further.
Boss? All right, in that case, this witness is excused. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Good luck.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, next witness, Ms. Boss.
I would call my client, Brian Brownell.
All right, Mr. Brownell.
I'm in my Snuggie now, so it's getting late. So I think I'm gonna cut this this part of it here, and we'll get to Dad's testimony tomorrow. There's still about a good 50 minutes left of his testimony. So, and apparently even more. So, anyways, again, my feelings change. Obviously, this is how sort of court works with new testimony and all, but my feelings changed a little bit after hearing that teacher and her thoughts on the subject. Yeah, a little bit concerning. How the mom's lawyer was really trying to push the sort of, oh, Dad's not involved in the schooling, etc., but sounds like he's actually more involved. So, anyways, thanks for tuning in and catching that court case with me tonight. I hope you have a good one. Leave me a comment down below. Please subscribe. I really appreciate it. Every single one of my new subscribers I am thankful for and gets a little kitchen dance. So, all right. Have a great night, guys. Talk to you later.